Welcome friends and welcome back to Katie's Camp Kitchen. Today we're going to be making pizza with a twist. We're going to be making pizza with a cauliflower crust. I want to thank Kevin Holland for commenting and giving me the idea for this video. Thanks so much, Kevin. The recipe and instructions will be in the description box of this video. These are the ingredients that I'm going to use for crust. 2 cups of cauliflower. I'm going to heat this on low and dry it out for about 10 minutes. 1 cup of shredded hard cheese such as Asiago, Parmesan, or Romano, or a combination. 1 egg. A tablespoon of almond flour. I'm going to use 1/4 teaspoon of yeast just to give it that kind of that bready taste. I have the cauliflower in a dry non-stick pan. I'm just going to turn on my burner and I'm going to turn it to as low as possible. I'm going to heat this, but what I'm really trying to do is to dry it out. On the lowest setting, this may take 10-ish minutes, give or take, but you do need to stay with it because if you don't, it will burn and you don't want that. So what we're trying to do is to heat this through so we can dry it, but we don't want to color it or to cook it so much that it shrinks down a lot. I'll remove this cauliflower from the burner and just let it cool for 3-4 minutes. So now I'm going to go and mix the crust. The first thing I'm going to do is just beat this egg. I'm going to add the cheese to it, 1/8 teaspoon of yeast, add in the cauliflower, and I'm just going to combine this. The egg is giving it a bit of a yellow color, so now let's make the crust. Ball this up together just to make sure that it's kind of going to stick together. I just want to check it, and I think that's great. It is just a tiny bit wet, so I think I'm going to add just a small amount of almond flour. So I'm actually going to add about 1/2 tablespoon and see where we're at. Just wanted to absorb a little bit of that moisture. I'm going to add another 1/2 tablespoon. That will make 1 tablespoon altogether. A lot of this depends on how wet or dry your area is. Usually we're fairly dry, but it's been raining for days, so we're a little bit wetter than normal. So this is still, you can still see definitely wetness in there, but I just wanted to make it just a little bit drier. And you can see that when I'm gonna go lay this down on the pan, it's gonna hold together. So just put that onto the parchment paper. Now I want to do about a 10-inch crust. Try to get it down to about 1/4 inch. And you can see it's still a bit wet, but the wetness is really from the egg, and that's acting as a binder, as well as the tablespoon of almond flour that I added. One thing you want to do is kind of clean up these edges so that they don't cook faster than the rest of the pizza crust, as you don't want the edges to burn. Cook this in a preheated 400-degree oven for 20 to 25 minutes. Pull the parchment off of the sheet pan and onto a cooling rack. I'm going to let that cool for about 5 minutes while I chop up the toppings. Here are the ingredients we're going to use for toppings. We're going to make a little pizza sauce with a small amount of tomato sauce, thyme, oregano, garlic, basil, salt, and pepper. Then we'll sprinkle on a little bit of basil and a little bit of mozzarella cheese. After that, we'll put on the mushrooms, onions, peppers, quartered pepperonis, and a little bit more of the hard cheeses. While I was cutting up the topping ingredients, I let the pizza crust cool on a wire rack. And I just want to show you that this crust does hold together. Wanted to give a shout out to Chef Buck, who published a video about 7 years ago with cauliflower pizza crust. I have modified this crust for our needs. He has lots of other great videos and recipes as well. So let's go ahead and dress this pizza now. So I'm just going to put on tomato sauce all the way to the edge and a thin layer because we don't want to have too wet of a pizza. Put some basil on here. A little bit more cheese. This is mozzarella this time. Onions that have been thinly sliced. Thinly sliced mushrooms. A little bit of sun-dried tomato. Next I added the dried herbs, the peppers, and some additional Parmesan cheese on top. And my oven is preheated again, so in we go. I just took this out of the toaster oven. It cooked for 15 additional minutes. The crust itself was 23 minutes, and this was 15 after I added the toppings. Just going to slide that onto a cooling rack, and I'm going to go ahead and use a spatula to try and get this pizza off of this parchment, because I want the crust to stay as crusty as possible. We're just going to let that cool a little bit before we cut into it. Two thumbs up from both of us. Thanks so very much for watching. We'll see you very soon around the campfire.